It's going down at the Pink. It's going down at the Pink P-Valley. Listen, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, all of that jazz. This is Pam, and you're watching PamEntertainmentTV. We are about to review Season 2, Episode 7 of P-Valley, entitled Jackson. All right. We're not going to go in any particular order. We're just going to go in each different character's storyline. But first, let me just give you an overall on this episode. This episode wasn't intense in the way, like with all this mess and stuff going on. But this episode was actually needed. I think it gave us some insight to how and why our favorite characters operate. They kind of gave us some backstory, some in-depth backstory about them, and I like that. It also gave us an opportunity to fine-tune what we thought about these different characters. And I will say I have a different perspective on Amber, and I have a different perspective on Mercedes. And we'll go over that, but overall, it's more insight, and I am very thankful for that. I'm very thankful to hear more insight about these characters, because at first they were just, kind of surface characters. That's my mic, y'all. They're kind of surface characters, so I'm happy that I have some insight. Before I get into that, just wanted to get into some housekeeping. Move my mic again. Listen, if you hear a little whirling, that is my fan. Okay, it's hot in this room, and I need something to keep me cool. Okay. While I got you on this housekeeping rant, hey, please like, comment, and subscribe. Subscribe to my channel. I see y'all watching. So go ahead and subscribe, then hit that notification bell, and that'll let you know when I upload a new video. I upload a video once a week, depending on how many shows that I am reviewing. And right now I am reviewing one show. I'm in the works of watching another show, but I will let you all know that in another video. And I will let you know, and we'll review that show and then get caught up on that weekly review. So let's get into this P-Valley, y'all. Baby, let's get into Keyshawn, Derek, and Amber, her intersection with this group. We see Keyshawn, they're at the grocery store, and they're going up and down the aisles, her and Derek and the two kids. They have their mask on, so you can't really see the bruises on Keyshawn's face. And it is so sad to see that girl just going through all of that. Wanting to get out, but not really understanding how to do it. Because you remember in the last review, I said, when you're in those situations, you have to have a plan. You have to have a plan, and it has to be executed. The partners, you have to have partners within this plan so that that plan can get executed. Because we're going to face it, and let's be clear. Derek is an abuser, and Derek is mentally unstable. He has shown that. He has beaten on Keyshawn. He has beaten on the children. So Derek cannot be trusted. There is going to be an incident where he is not going to control himself, and he's going to either kill Keyshawn or he's going to kill one of them babies. We have just gotten to that point. There's no way to get around that. There's no way to try to make it seem like he's not that type of dude. We're not going to get around that. So while they're in the grocery store, Amber creeping on the come up is around the corner so that Derek doesn't see her, but Keyshawn sees her. And so Keyshawn excuses herself from Derek by saying, hey, I got to get some makeup so I can kind of cover my bruises. And so he looks at her. You can see that guilty look on him, but those things don't last that long. He's guilty about it, but he wants her to do that because then it makes him look better, because if she looks like there's nothing wrong, then to the world there's nothing wrong. Bastard. But anyway, let's keep it moving. So she goes on the makeup aisle, and Amber is waiting on her, and Amber basically tells her, look, how long are you going to stay in this? If you want to get out, you need to let somebody know. basically have that basic conversation. Because initially I thought Amber was trying to talk to her to get her to come back to the pink, and maybe that is something that's on the table. But I see now that Amber is really truly concerned about her, simply because I think Amber sees herself in Keyshawn. Not in the same setting, but she sees herself in that situation. So later on, a couple of days or whenever it was, Amber comes over to Keyshawn's home, introduces her. Keyshawn says, oh, she used to dance with me at the pink. And so she was saying, I was at the outlet, I saw this outfit, and I had to get it for the baby. Because you remember, Keyshawn would bring the baby to the pink, and they all would take turns taking care of the baby. And so she goes in and she talks to Keyshawn, and she says, I see you hadn't used the gun that I gave you. And, Keyshawn is talking about how hard it was and all this other stuff. So she was like, let me hold the baby, because the baby was fussy. She holds the baby, and Amber starts telling the baby a story about Haley. And how Haley was unloved and was wandering through the forest, and then she hooked up with Montravius. And she thought she had a knight in shining armor because he bought her all these clothes and all of these things. But then it came out that he wasn't the knight in shining armor. He was a wolf in sheep's clothing. And she waited too late to get out from around him. And then when she decided, she had waited too late, and she ended up losing her daughter. And so she told that story, and Keyshawn was like, what are you talking about? What are you talking about? And so basically she handed her the gift that she got for the baby. And it's a cell phone. Because, Derek is tracking her other cell phone. But this is a fresh cell phone. And I'm like, oh gosh, this is such a great moment for Keyshawn to be able to make calls and make arrangements to get out of there. But here's my issue and my problem with Keyshawn. You remember I've said it over and over again. She does things and she has well intentions, but she's sloppy. Just like she left those diapers in the diaper genie when she should have taken them out. Just like she had the gun and she stuffed it down in the seat cushions where the kids could have gotten it. I hope there is another gift in that gift bag for the baby, because you know how Derek is. Derek is going to take it and look in it or whatever. But anyway. But I thought that was a great gesture from Amber. I thought that, that kind of let us see her character and her understanding Keyshawn's plight. And I thought that was good. So let's roll in from Amber back to Amber and Uncle Clifford. She is meeting with, because the episode, Amber meets with Uncle Clifford talking about the status of what's going on with the pink. She says she got an offer for $5 million. Clifford did one of those little jumps like, bitch, why you ain't take it? And she was like, no, because I believe that this is worth $10 million, and we should get $10 million for this land and what we have here. Because they wanted $10 million is going to be their daily operating cost. Honestly, if the casino goes like it goes, $10 million is their daily operating cost. So she talks to Clifford about that, and he's like trying to let her know that this place is legacy. So before I go into that, let's go into how the show started. The show started with the grandmother, Miss Ernestine, on the stage, kind of going through the years as she was a singer and this club owner, and she would sing in her club and people would be dancing, and she was very excited about that. You pan over to, you see this woman with this little boy, and we find out that it's little Clifford and his mother. Her name is Beulah. And we see the connection that Miss Ernestine has to her club. And it looks like from the way it was dressed, it went from like the 60s to the 70s to the 80s, and maybe started trying to fizzle out at the 90s, because I was looking at the clothes that they were wearing, and it looked like the club kind of fizzled in the 90s, and maybe that's when Uncle Clifford took it over. I'm not really sure. It probably went from Miss Ernestine's juke joint to the pink. And that's when the stripping and all of that stuff started. So you remember from the last episode, we understand that we understand that grandmother has COVID because she got it from toys, coughing and hawking and sneezing tail. He got it from Toy, and she's very sick. She's delusional. She's very hot. She's having fevers. We see that Lil Murder is taking care of her. He's cooking food for her. She hasn't lost her sense of smell. She just has a very high fever, and I'm concerned about her because she has diabetes, and so as we have learned about COVID. At first we thought that it was like a sinus and respiratory disease, but we ultimately found out that wherever you have inflammation or sickness or something like that, that's what it's going to attack. So yeah, it will attack your lungs and give you a cough, and you have a cold flu symptoms like that. But it also will attack your joints, even to the point where some people have inflammation in their hands and in their feet, in their toes. You see people with, their joints, and some people have had to have amputations because it has caused, I think the word is neuropathy. Don't quote me. I am no medical professional. But basically, you things start to die because the circulation doesn't go well or something like that. So if you already have a chronic illness, it can just exacerbate it. I think that's the word. Anyway, so we see her, she, like I said, her sight has been compromised because of the diabetes. However, her sense of smell hasn't been compromised because Lil Murder done made her some smothered pork chops, some collard greens, some candied yams, and something else. And then she said, "Oh, I can't eat off of Uncle Clifford's cornbread dressing because apparently it must not be good." But Lil Murder could cook, and we understood that Lil Murder could cook from when you remember when the Pinks cook quit because everybody was saying how greasy and gassy his food was, and then Lil Murder took over the food and everybody was loving and enjoying them wings and stuff like that. So we knew Lil Murder could cook. But anyway, in that scene, it was quite telling because she was saying, "No, my smell has never disappointed me." And she says, "Just like that night that you came here," she said, "I smelled death on you." And so we all understand and know that that's because Big T had killed himself. And Lil Murder hasn't really spoken about that, but she was just letting him know that she understood that there was something looming over him. Now, I don't know if she knows that that Big T committed suicide, or is she thinking that Lil Murder killed somebody? But she understands that there is a sense of death on him, and she is quite concerned about that. And Lil Murder is, you can see Lil Murder going through it. He's had some flashbacks about it. After he talks with grandmother Ernestine, he picks up his phone and he sees his phone's just been blowing up with tweets, with reels, with DM messages and all this other stuff. And as he picks up the phone, he sees that Wody is calling him, and Wody wants to know where he's at and what is he doing. He explains to him that record with Tina Snow has blown up, and we know Tina Snow to be who? Meg Thee Stallion. So I guess her character is Tina Snow in the Pank. In P-Valley, excuse me. So that record, and he wants to capitalize on that momentum. He wants to be able to get out on the road. He said, when they had to cancel the tour because of was Big Rome's death, that now those people that canceled, they're asking to book you specifically outside of Keyshawn. So Lil Murder says okay, yeah. He started asking about Big Teak, and he says, Wody tells him, look, nobody has claimed his body, and we're gonna have to do something. We may have to do a pauper's burial. And Lil Murder is like, no. The crew is gonna get together, and we're gonna have to get together and pay for something so that he can go out like he needs to go out. So Wody is fine with that. So it looks like Lil Murder needs to get back on the road. However, Uncle Clifford comes home and he don't hear no sound in the house. So child, he thinking that something done happened to Miss Ernestine. He go flying up them steps, and then he finds Miss Ernestine is in the bed sleep, and Lil Murder is just sitting at the end of the bed watching. He was at the end of the bed, and Uncle Clifford comes in. I done tried to call, and he does this. I'm thinking something done happened, and he was like, "No." He said, "You done checked the blood?" He said, "Clifford, I done did everything you told me to do on that list. All right, she good. She's just taking a nap right now." And so, but they talk about the fact that she's not really doing that well. She has a temperature of 101. She's not really doing that well. Why they ain't open them windows? That's just the me and me. When somebody is sick like that, at some point you need to open them windows. Let some fresh air come in that room. They could breathe some fresh air, get that old sick air out, and put some fresh air in. Put a fan in the window and let it either turn it to blow the air out of the room or blow some fresh air into the room. Something, cross breeze or something. There needed to be some fresh air in that room. I know that room was kind of. That's the personal Pamela. Stop. So Little Murder and Clifford talk, and they kind of discuss just little key little things about the relationship. Little Murder gets invited into Clifford's boudoir. He's in the boudoir and he sees all these things and stuff like that, like high-end stuff and, all this, I call it Lola Falana stuff, just frilly and stuff like that. And he's in there. He's like, "Oh, I didn't know you had a Gucci bag." He was like, "Yeah, my mother bought me that when I was young." And, he was just talking and all these little different things. He says, "I've always been Uncle Clifford. I've always been who I am." And he's always been, and he's had people to support him in who he is. And we saw the little, if you watched my review or preview of the trailer for this episode, we see Lil Murder saying that and what we see of this episode, we see Lil Murder just basically, I am someone society won't let me be. He passes, but society won't let him be that person and have his sexual desires with men. So they talk about it. They go over bop bop boop. They have sex. They also continue to talk about it. And then they hear his bang. They go down the stairs. The screen door is banging into the door. They realize that Miss Ernestina left the house. They don't know where she's at. Honey, they get to running around trying to find Miss Ernestine. They find her robe. Then they find her shoe. And then they see Miss Ernestine. Miss Ernestine is making her way to the river. Now, if I didn't remember to tell you all this from the first part when I was talking about Miss Ernestine, while she was on stage, you can tell that she was in a delusional state. She saw her daughter. Now, her daughter was in this beautiful white dress with the little frills and fringes on it. And she had like this martini. And she was telling her mama, it's time. And Miss Ernestine's like, "Baby, I'm not ready to go yet. I'm not ready. Gone, I'm not ready to go yet." And so we see now Miss Ernestine running towards the river. Seems like she's ready. She just is delusional. She's like, "I want to go. I can't take this. I need to go." She needs to go into the river. And so Uncle Clifford stops her. And she's like, "If y'all won't let me go into the river, I need the water from the river." So Lil Murder goes to the river. He has a scarf. He puts that scarf down into the water. And then he comes back to her and he pours that water all over her face. Then he notices that her hands are blue. They call the ambulance. Uncle Clifford don't want to call the ambulance because, at that time during the height of COVID, when people went in, they more than likely weren't able coming out because, the hospitals were full and, we understand. So he was nervous about that. Plus he's not going to be able to go in and visit with her. And she's like, "I don't want to die. I don't want to die. I don't want to go in there and I don't want to die." And, Clifford's having to wrestle with the fact that his grandmother is going into the hospital. And we see, and like I said, in regards to the character, we see again that Lil Murder is not ready to come out because he wants to live the life that he lives, that he's comfortable in. But if he could live that life, if he could live that thug life and still be, not having to be a closeted gay man, he would. So we see that. We see Uncle Clifford kind of talking with him about living authentically who you are, and how different that is, and how the support systems that he's had to be able to live that life. And, with his grandmother, she is like the last vestige of his support system. And if he loses her, that's going to be very difficult for him. So now we talk about Mercedes and Tarika. So we find out at the last episode that Tarika Butt is pregnant. But Tarika is just like not telling anybody. She's pregnant and she's not telling anybody. And then we find out that Tarika's cycle is not regular. So, when your cycle is not regular, it's hard to regulate whether or not you're pregnant or not. And so we see Tarika, she's now kind of showing that she's kind of pregnant. We find out, so let me just go back. So what happens is she goes to Mercedes, and she's been staying with the Mercedes for a couple of days. And Mercedes is telling Shell, hey, she can stay another day or something like that so you can get yourself together. And then Shell says something to Mercedes, and Mercedes said, listen, it ain't me drinking 2 cases of Moscato. Get drunk. You can't take care of nothing. And that woman had the nerve to hang up on Mercedes. No, Mercedes was talking the truth. Anyway. So Mercedes tells Tarika, because Tarika's having all of these cravings and whatnot. So Mercedes was like, okay, we're going to take care of this craving. So they're riding down the road. And as they're riding down the road, Mercedes starts to look at the fact that they passing the place that they need to go. And she's like, where are you going? And she said, you going to Jackson. And she said, you're ambushing me. She says, no, you need to know your option. She said, you don't even know how far along you're pregnant. And she says, after a while, it's going to be too late. She's like, 2 weeks for what? She's like, if you want to decide to have an abortion, we need to know how much time you have to be able to make that decision before the decision is made for you. And Tarika is doing everything that a 14-year-old a child would do. Me and my boyfriend, we want the baby. We gonna take it. He gonna work at Dairy Queen and Crystal's part-time to take care of the baby. And Mercedes like, do you understand how much diapers cost? Do you understand how much physical and mental toll it takes to take care of a baby? Are you aware of what you have to sacrifice? He gonna work at Crystal's, but do you want to finish high school? Do you want to do those things? Because you have to take care of a baby. Is there assistance? Yes. But if your baby gets sick, you got to miss days of school. That baby can't go to daycare. You got to be home with that baby. For a functioning adult woman, that is a difficult thing. And particularly if you're a functioning adult woman and you don't have resources to assist you, like family or anything like that. So if a functioning adult woman with or without resources, that's a difficult task. That's a difficult task for a 14-year-old child. Whether you all want to believe it or not, it's a difficult task. So Tarika is still talking, I don't know if I want to do that. And Mercedes had to come to a reckoning that it is Tarika's decision. But let me ask you all something, because this is the scene that kind of threw me. Mercedes was having a flashback, and when she had this flashback, she's sitting in a diner with her mom, and they're talking or whatever they're talking. They're eating fries, and apparently Miss Woodbine don't have enough money to pay for the fries. So Mercedes was like, Mama, I got it. So she opens her wallet to pull out the money. Well, Patricia Woodbine sees these condoms. Now, was it me, or did I misinterpret this whole situation? She was ready to pimp her daughter out to the man standing at the counter to pay for the food. But when she saw that the girl was using protection with the relationship she was having, She was having a fit. Y'all explain that to me. That thing right there I could not, that pimp hoe mentality, I couldn't understand. And then you decide to go beat this girl down to the ground because you saw a condom. But you were just not even 5 minutes ago ready to pimp her out to the man sitting at the lunch counter to pay for your food. I don't understand it. I don't understand it. And then what really makes me mad is then you have wrapped and warped religion around it. It's okay to pimp your daughter out, but it's not okay for her to explore her sexuality on her own. A mess. But it ends up, they go to the abortion clinic. They go through the line of pro-lifers. They go in and find out that she is like 14 weeks. And they were saying that her window, so I don't know if they had like at 15 weeks you couldn't have an abortion or whatever it is in Mississippi, whatever it was in Mississippi. So she took Tarika to the hotel and got her all those things and, you know, kind of talked to her. Tarika, you know, they go back and forth and back and forth. Tarika asked her why, you know, they're going back and forth in their relationship about being a mother. Mercedes explains to her how difficult it was. She was a child. She was young. The judge wasn't going to give her custody. At that time, Cortez was a married man with a wife whose life was more stable than Mercedes' life was. So she knew she wanted to get this gym to teach kids to dance so that she can make a proper living, so that she could get Tarika. But Tarika asked the questions, you know, even with that, why didn't you come see me? Why did you miss your visitations? Why did you do all of those things? And so those are some questions that Mercedes has to answer. She has to answer for. She has to give that young lady the truth of why she did what she did. And, you know, even if the truth is, I didn't know no better, even if the truth is, I didn't want to, whatever the truth is, she has to give it to Tarika. So the next morning they get up, they get in the car. Mercedes throws the keys at her, told her, you can drive. It's your decision. You can go to Jackson or you can go to Chucalissa. It doesn't matter. Whatever happens, it's your decision. And Tarika ends up going to Jackson. She gets the abortion. They come back home. They see Miss Patricia Woodbine on the television screen and stuff like that. And she was like, oh, you know, she's going to be mad at me. She's going to be upset. She said, you can't get, she doesn't have the power. The only way that she can mess with you if you give her the power to. So that's pretty much the episode. What did y'all think about this episode? Let me know down in the comments. Again, please like, comment, and subscribe. Hit that notification bell. So when I upload a new video, and as always, people, bye-bye.